Hey guys, today I'm going to give you a sneak peek of my upcoming MyoYin specialty workshop and introduce you to some techniques that address muscular tension, fatigue, chronic pain, and help to restore an overall vitality to the body, as well as promote an expanded state of consciousness. The practices of yin yoga and myofascial release target the fascial system. The fascia is a vast 3D web of connective tissue that not only binds every muscle, every bone, organ, every cell in our body together, but also acts as a pathway for the vital energy that allows cells to communicate and interact with each other. It's believed that the fascia may be the energetic channels, the nadis, the meridians that the ancient yogis and healers have referred to for thousands of years. As recently as 20 years ago, the importance of the fascia wasn't recognized. It was seen as an insignificant packing material and ignored by medical scientists. Now, the fascia has been classified as the body's largest organ and is acknowledged as playing a vital role in health and in consciousness. So when the fascia is not healthy, it becomes dry, tight, and sticky, and it shrink wraps around the surrounding tissues and cells, leading to dysfunction and disease. And this inhibits the vital energy from flowing properly and nourishing the tissues. Scientific evidence shows that when we apply a low load, long duration, passive stress on the tissues, that it provides release to fascial obstructions, and it improves the viscosity and the fluidity of the tissues. So this is what I plan on sharing with you in my MyoYin specialty workshop. We are going to be targeting the fascial system by releasing into yin-style yoga postures that will target areas of fascial restriction. We're also going to use massage balls to get into the deep tissues, using myofascial release techniques to release, hydrate, and nourish those areas where the tissue has become dry, tight, and clingy, restoring the flow of vital energy. And of course, we do this with a foundation of mindfulness meditation and conscious breathing. So I'm going to just demonstrate a couple of practices that we'll be exploring in the MyoYin specialty training. So for this course, you're going to need 2 yoga blocks, preferably the fatter ones, and 2 massage balls, which can either be lacrosse balls or tennis balls. Tennis balls are a little bit softer and not quite as harsh. I enjoy really getting in there with the harder lacrosse balls. You can buy these balls on Amazon, for example. You can get 2 of them for less than $10, and the blocks, you can get 2 of them for less than $20. Okay? And if you come to my class in person, then I will be supplying these for you. Okay, so a lot of us have a lot of shoulder tension, so I'm just going to show you some myofascial release and some yin yoga posture that helps to release the fascial restrictions around the shoulder joint. Okay, so I'm going to use my block here, and I can actually use the block just on its own and put it up at the medium height, and then I'm just going to lay on my side here like I'm coming into a beach pose, and I'm going to lean down on this block and just kind of explore this area kind of underneath my armpit and around where you can feel your scapula back here, and just kind of find those attachment sites in there. And you can kind of roll around and just explore, and you might find a spot where you're like, ooh, yeah, there's a lot of tenderness, and that indicates that like there's some restriction there. So I'm just going to pause and just release down into that. Okay, another option, if I want an even stronger sensation, is I can place the ball in between the tissue and the block. Okay, so the block can be at the medium height, it can be at the lowest height. So I'm just going to place that ball in between the tissue and the block. I'm already seeing stars. It's like, whoa, it's intense, but I recognize that that intensity is beneficial is when I release my weight down into this, I'm getting some of that low load, long duration pressure. I need to hold this for a minimum of about a minute and a half. And when we're first learning this, we can do a little bit less just to help us get accustomed to the sensations. But gradually over time, we want to try to hold this pressure for at least a minute and a half. That's kind of what the scientific evidence shows us is the minimum amount of time required to really get the fascia to react. So I'm just going to sink down into this. Very important that I disengage the muscles as much as possible, particularly the muscles that are in this targeted area that I'm working with. It's also possible that I can use a little bit of movement. Maybe I'll kind of hold myself up with this other hand and I'll kind of move this arm around a little bit just to explore and see if I can get it in to some of those deep tissues that are not easy to reach. Of course, I'm going to approach this as a mindfulness meditation. When I can bring myself fully into the experience, then I'm able to use my concentrated energy to towards this process of healing. I can use my breath in a conscious way to send that vital energy to the spaces that I want nourished, and of course letting the breath out carry away any stress, any tension, anything that is no longer useful that comes up to the surface, and let it release. So I'm just going to stay here for one final breath, one long, slow, deep breath in, filling up the lungs, followed by a cleansing sigh. And then, of course, I'm going to come out very mindfully and deliberately, because when we're working with the fascia, there's going to be this sense of vulnerability in the tissues when you first come out. So moving very slow. And then before we move on to what comes next, we're just going to pause and let what we just did be integrated and processed by the entire body, by the physical body and the energetic system, and even let our mind sort of process things emotionally too. Of course, we would want to do that with the other side too. We want to balance, so I'm just going to do that same thing on this side and get into my beach pose. And then I can use either the block alone, or if I want a stronger sensation, I can use the block and the ball together. So placing the ball in between the block and the tissue. So I'm getting it kind of underneath my armpit, not right in the armpit itself, but kind of a little bit back towards where you can feel your scapula or your shoulder blade. Underneath the armpit. And of course, the ball doesn't want to dig directly into the bone itself. You want to try to get into those attachment sites where the muscles connect into the joint. So I'm just going to kind of explore, do a little bit of curious exploration, move the ball around, move my body into some different positions until, yep, okay, so I just found a spot. And now I recognize that this is an uncomfortable sensation. Ideally, that sensation is no more than a 4 or a 5 on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being no pain and 10 being searing pain. That way I can completely breathe into this, relax into it, and disengage the muscles. If the pain is too intense, then I'm going to brace and clench up against it, which isn't going to be useful. I need to be able to disengage the muscles so that I can target that deep connective tissue and the fascia. So while I'm here, I'm just going to breathe through this. I'm going to stay present and just continue to observe my sensations and observe any passing thoughts or feelings without any judgment, without any reaction to it. Just accept this as a very powerful moment of self-healing. And I want to stay here for at least a minute and a half. As I grow more accustomed to this over time, maybe I can stay a little longer, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just let this low load, long duration pressure that is provided by gravity and my own body weight provide this very deep pressure in my tissues. And when I release out of this, there's going to be this reaction of the fascia. There's going to be a flush of energy and nourishment and moisture that is going to enter these tissues when I release it. Okay, so this is the idea behind yin yoga and myofascial release, and of course we are combining them in this workshop. So I'm just going to take one final breath here, taking a long, slow, deep breath in, filling up the lungs, expand, expand. And then exhale, sigh. Just let go of any stress, any toxins, any debris that has come up to the surface, just letting it go. And then I'm going to slowly transition. Just keep that sense of softness and relaxation as I move. And of course, I want to have these few moments of what's in yin yoga called a rebound, where we just pause in stillness and allow the tissues to recoil back into their rightful place and experience on an energetic level what is occurring, these very powerful benefits. And then of course, so that was some myofascial release that we just did. And now to complement that, we're also going to approach a yin style yoga posture, which we are going to hold for a couple of minutes, that's going to target that same area, so that same tissue around the shoulder joints. Okay, so for this one, the blocks are optional. I'm just going to set my massage balls to the side. And I'm going to come onto my hands and knees. We're going to come into the melting heart pose. So coming onto the hands and knees first and walking the hands and feet a little bit further away from each other, lowering the arms and elbows down onto the mat. And then seeing if I can see my chest all the way down on the mat so that it causes my hips to rise up and back, creating that nice curve in my spine. I can place my forehead on the floor, or if that's not comfortable, I can use a block and just rest my head on that. I can also place a block underneath my chest here just to make that a little bit easier. Ultimately, this is going to create a tugging sensation through the shoulders and the arms. Okay? And I'm going to just release down into this for about 2 minutes. And while I'm here, I'm just taking some long, slow, influential, conscious breaths. If I want a little bit more sensation, I can prop my elbows and my arms up onto blocks, either at the lowest height, maybe even the medium height. If I really want to get some deep sensation, hinge my hips up and back. I can even bring my palms together and bring those prayer hands back towards my shoulder blades to increase that sensation through the arms and the shoulders. Of course, to get the most out of this, I need to completely disengage the muscles, softening and relaxing the muscles as to target the deep connective tissue. By holding this position for several minutes, I'm able to some low load, long duration stress to that deep connective tissue. And when I release that low load, long duration stress, then there'll be this flushing in of moisture and energy and nourishment into those tissues. And this is something that we actually have some scientific evidence to show. I'm just going to take one final long, slow, deep breath here, filling up the lungs, followed by a cleansing sigh, just enjoying one final release in this position. And then I'm going to come out slowly, deliberately, with control and ease. I can either hinge myself forward or I can just lower down onto my belly. Want to come into a somewhat neutral position after that. So either coming onto my belly or just sitting upright. And in this stillness, I can tune into what's happening on a subtle energetic level. There's this sense of, while you're in the position itself, there's this constriction, there's this tension, there's this pulling, there's this challenge and somewhat difficulty. And then when you release out of it, there's almost like this sensation like the kink in the garden hose being released, and there's this flush of vitality and energy and vibrancy to the tissues. There are many ways for us to approach good health and vitality. This practice does not replace your regular exercise routine, but it complements it. When we want to exercise the muscles and promote strength and physical endurance, a more active, heated practice is required. The muscles are elastic and springy and like heat and rhythm and repetition. But the deep connective tissue, including the fascia, is a different type of tissue altogether and requires a different approach. So if you are experiencing stiffness and immobility, pain in the body, or any other health concerns, I really encourage you to explore this approach of working with the fascial system and exploring the subtle energetic system of the body. My MyoYin specialty workshop is a 4-class series of once monthly sessions starting on February 19th. I have a limited number of spaces for people who would like to practice with me in person at a Wally Beach resort on the Caribbean island of Nevis. Or if you can't make it to Nevis and do it in person, then you can also join the sessions online via Zoom. And if you miss any of the classes, there will be a recording available for up to 1 month following each session. The link to sign up is attached to this video. You can also reach the booking page via my websites, soul-roots.com and also soulscuba.com. So I look forward to seeing you on the mat. Namaste.